In this video, we're going to have a look at how we can query our data in Pinecone. So the first thing we need to do is, as always, just check you have the Pinecone client installed. Then you can import Pinecone and initialize your connection to Pinecone. Here you do need to include your own API key, which you can get from app.pinecone.io. And then you'll need to initialize the connection to whichever index it is you will be querying. Now, I've already created an index, example index here, and you can see this is a 128 dimension index. So each vector in there contains 128 dimensions. There's no namespaces defined, and the vector count for that index is 10,000. So if we scroll a little bit here, we can see that I have this random function that is just going to generate two random query vectors for me. So I'm going to run that, and that's just creating a 128 dimensional vector here, and I'm doing that twice to create two of them. So from there we can move on to our query. So querying is just index.query, very simple, and we pass our query vectors to the queries parameter. Here I'm saying I want to return the top three most similar vectors found in the index, and here I've said include values is set to true. So when we include values, that will return us the vectors as well as the IDs for those vectors as well. So we can see in here, I mean, these vectors are quite long. There are a lot of values here, and particularly if you are wanting to return quite a few vectors or samples, you probably don't actually want to return those vectors. So what you can do is either remove this, or you just say it's false, because by default this value include values is set to false. So I'm just going to remove it, run that again, and now you can see it's a little bit nicer to read. So we're not returning the values anymore, and we can see the most similar matches to the first query vector is here, and the most similar matches to the second query vector is here. Now, in Pinecone, we also have metadata as well. Now, if you're following through the docs in order, you might not have come across the metadata yet, but we can also return metadata by saying include metadata equals to true. Okay, and you can see here we have a new parameter here, metadata, and we can see we have this genre drama and the year as well for this specific vector. So it's just metadata that describes our vector or the data behind that vector in some way or another. And that's it for querying data in Pinecone.